So in this video, we're going to be looking at registered land, and I've just finished a couple of videos on looking at unregistered land and specifically how you can claim title to unregistered land. We had a look at what the law looked like before the 1st of January 1926 and then what the law looked after the 1st of January 1926 with a specific inquiry into the scheme of land charges registration and the scheme of statutory overreaching. So this video now follows on from unregistered land to a specific look at the law of registered land. Registration of title is not a modern phenomenon. In 1857, a royal commission was established that set itself the task enabling owners to deal with land as easily as they can. So it dealt with things like chattels and stocks. And then the first legislation was enacted in 1862, and then further statutes regarding registration of title were enacted in 1875 and 1897. But it was not until the Land Registration Act of 1925, and when that came into force, that significant steps were taken towards a nationwide system of registration. So the 1st of January 1926, there were lots of crucial statutes that came into force, which revolutionised property law. And the Land Registration Act 1925 has now been repealed in its entirety. Registered estates in land are now governed by the more recent Land Registration Act. So this is the statute that we need to consider when we're talking about registered land. So the Land Register. The Land Registration Act 2002 reaffirms the existence of a register of title, that's the Land Register, kept by the Land Registrar. So the 1925 Act was the first piece of legislation which attempted to introduce a nationwide registration of title. So the idea of registering title existed under that earlier 1925 Act and then was later reaffirmed by the Land Registration Act 2002. Now the Land Register can be accessed by the general public through district land registries, but increasingly the information contained on the register is available online. So what exactly is registered on the Land Register? And the answer to that is estates in land. The Land Registration Act 2002 provides for estates in land, so that's the freeholds and leaseholds, to be registered on the Land Register in their own right under unique title numbers. So you can register your estate on the Land Register and the estate will be given a number. Title to all legal freeholds can be registered, and title to all legal leaseholds lasting more than 7 years can be registered too. Okay, and you can find the specific provisions in the Land Registration Act 2002 for that. So the restriction for it being title to leaseholds lasting more than 7 years is really for practical reasons. It's to prevent the register being overwhelmed by entries relating to shorter leases. It is likely that this will probably be extended to even shorter leases in the future when electronic conveyancing is fully introduced, but we're not quite there yet. So let's have a little look at an example of what could be found on the Proprietorship Register. So let's imagine the freehold in Blackacre is registered under the Land Register and is given its own title number. So here we've got CB1234 as our title number on the Land Register. And the first chunk of information we find will be under the Property Register. So this section really tells you what the estate is that is registered, which estate the title number refers to. So this section tells you the nature of the estate, freehold or leasehold, and it also tells you the physical land over which the estate exists, in other words, the address. But note, it is not the physical land that is being registered, but the estate in the land. Remember from the very first video that I did, we can't actually own the land itself, as that belongs to the Crown. Now, because it is the estates in lands that are registered and not the physical land, it is possible for more than one estate to be registered against one plot of land. For example, the freehold owner leases the house to someone else for over 7 years. Therefore, there are two title numbers, so two registrations under that same piece of land, same piece of physical land. The freehold estate is technically indefinite, meaning that so long as the estate can pass on to someone else on the death of the owner, then it will continue. If it is unable to continue, then the Crown will take possession of that land. The leasehold estate can be registered with its own title number if it's for more than 7 years, as I mentioned a moment ago. So in such a situation, the property would get a title number for a prescribed period over 7 years, and then when that lease ends, the title number will be removed from the register. Okay, so that's the first section of the property register. And then the second chunk of information here is the proprietorship register. Okay, this section describes the current owner, the registered proprietor of the estate in question. So, for example, in this example here, the section says that the current proprietor is Claire. So, the information under the property register will remain constant, but the information contained under the proprietorship register will alter. So, for example, Claire is the owner at the moment, but might not be in the future. So the registered proprietor of the estate in question will change. And the charges register is something that we will look at later. So just know about the property register, which remains constant, and the proprietorship register, which will change depending on who is the proprietor of that particular plot of land. So title by registration. Now, the two questions that concerned us greatly in the unregistered regime are quite simple now under the registered regime. So when dealing with unregistered land, we posed two questions, and I recommend you check out those videos on unregistered land. We posed two questions. How can an individual establish ownership of unregistered land? And the second question was to do with the impacts of rights in rem on third parties. Now, the second question is still hugely important under the registered regime, but the former question has basically disappeared because title under an estate derives exclusively from registration as the proprietor of the estate. So if you want to know the owner of Blackacre, if you want to know who that is, you simply look under the land register, okay? And that's seen under Section 58 of the Land Registration Act 2002. The registered proprietor of an estate, the freehold or long leasehold, in land shall be deemed to have been vested with the legal estate as it is noted on the register. So if you're registered on the land title, you're deemed to have the legal estate. The registered proprietor of an estate in land has a valid title to that estate even if it has never been conveyed to him, and his registration as proprietor is a consequence of mistake or fraud. Okay, so a registered proprietor or an owner registered on the land title will have a valid title even if the estate has not been transferred to the person, and even if the person's name has been put on the register by accident or even as a result of the person's own fraud. So this can be changed under the alteration provisions within the Act, but have a look at the case of Fitzwilliam and Ritual Holdings 2013. In this case, the High Court judge held fraudulent registration does not confer title. So that seems to go against this provision within the Land Registration Act 2002. And this runs really counter to this Section 58, runs counter to the logical implications of Section 58. So many critics do not actually like this decision, such as Dixon. So we do seem to have this sort of conflict between this case of Fitzwilliam and Ritual Holdings in 2013 and Section 58 of the Land Registration Act. The Land Registration Act therefore established a system not of registration of title, but of title by registration. The Act of Registration itself confers title. So title is conferred by registration. Okay, super simple. If your name is on the register, you are deemed to have title to the land. So that just about wraps up the first part of my discussion of registered land, and it really sort of introduces this concept of the land register and how that works for registered land. In the next video, we're going to dive into rights in rem and how those work with regards to registered land. So if you have any questions at all about this video, just leave a comment below and I'll get straight back to you. Remember to subscribe to my channel and leave a thumbs up. Thank you very much for watching.